Okay, we've got a new team member within GGR. It's a small team and it's an international team, and some of you may know that it was done by computer from Germany and Tonga and England and stuff. David, good to meet you. And David's our new commercial director for GGR. In fact, it's actually commercial director for McIntyre Adventure, eh?
Yeah.
So as you know, we want sponsors for 2022 GGR. We're doing a lot of things, and the first move that we made, I realised that we need someone that knows what they're doing to look for sponsors and then develop the brand. So we put a little ad in our GGR Facebook page with two hands shaking and say we're looking for a commercial director. And what happened next?
It's the smallest world. There's a really lovely lady I know in Seattle called Liz Rose, who took part in another race that I was involved in. I'll tell you more about it a bit later on. She sent me an email one evening saying, have a look at this. I sent you an email. We realised we'd met a few years previously.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And the reason we met a few years previously, Barry and I were at the Yacht Racing Forum in Malta when we were promoting the GGR. Yacht Racing Forum is all about all the event organisers around the world get together and talk yacht races and events. And David was there representing the Clipper race, and we all know about Clipper. That's Sir Robert Knox-Johnson and William, and big organisation, lots of boats going around the world, lots of crew, incredible adventure, and part of the whole thing, which is the inspiration that Robin is, getting people out sailing. And tell them your history with Clipper.
So, like many other thousands of people around the world, inspired by Sir Robin and the Golden Globe in 1968-69. A bit young, I was born in 68, so I don't remember it firsthand, but I took part in the Clipper race myself in 2002.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
So, the Clipper race set up by Sir Robin and by William, really inspired by his Golden Globe and wanting to open up the oceans to everyday people. And I was one of the everyday people. Yeah. So I took part in the Clipper race, planned to do one leg, ended up circumnavigating because it was too much fun. I didn't want to go home. And then I went to work for Clipper in 2005. So I spent best part of 15 years working for Sir Robin and for William on the Clipper race. I met my wife through the Clipper race. We've got two kids.
Was she a crew as well?
My wife was a crew member in 2005.
On your boat? Or you interviewed
different boat, different race.
That's jeepers. Yeah, right. That's enough.
Yeah, but the entire family is here because of Robin. But going right back to the Golden Globe. So for me, this seems like a really nice circle to come with.
So you're there 15 years. What were you doing the first 10 years?
So initially recruiting the crew. So obviously the Clipper race, it's different. It's a crewed race. People pay to take part. And I interviewed all the crew members globally, pretty much, people who were taking part. What we started to realise a few years into that was a lot of the sponsors actually were coming via crew members as well. Yeah. Because you'd have a crew member who saw an opportunity for their business to be involved and to benefit from the race and the opportunities that were there. And because I knew the crew so well, it was a natural progression. So I also worked on sponsorship. So they were really the two key areas I covered for Clipper.
Yeah, cool. And then the last 5 years, it was what happened? It was still a similar thing, or you host ports and?
Yeah. So looking at, I was working with some of the host ports, working with some of the sponsors. The recruitment team grew to free up some of my time to work on sponsorship as well. So we recruited a couple of people in Australia who were helping out with recruitment there. Ambassadorial roles really around the world, so we didn't need to fly everywhere. But the team in the UK grew. I mean, Clipper's changed no end since I started. It's a team of probably close to 100 people now. Just a huge operation and phenomenally successful, and the work they do is fantastic. And really similar in many ways to this, I think. The family spirit, it's all about people. And it's not about big budgets, and it's not about a big campaign and a team behind you. It's about people. And very similar to the Golden Globe.
Yeah, exactly. And to the extent I'd say then it's more of an intense personal story more intense challenge, solo around the world, things like that. Okay, so the plan now is, because people often say, you're going to get sponsors next time for 22. We have a bit of a plan. So now, don't ask me, you can ask David now. Are we going to get a sponsor for 22?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I agree. And what happens is, from, as you know, Jane and I think that the GGR personally was a huge success because we got into it to inspire people and so on. And that's happened, there's hundreds of thousands of people around the world that are following it, and I doubt whether there'd be a sailor anywhere that hasn't heard of the GGR either before in '68 or right now. The brand is strong, and so we are now compiling the whole media file. And I've got to say, we're using a company to help us do that, and it's bigger than what we even thought. It's funny, we thought we'd nailed a lot of the coverage, and they come back and say, oh no, look at this, because they've got electronic systems, so we're putting that together. So one of the first things we do is actually compile that as a valuable document that gets dropped on the table. But more importantly, I think the difference now is that when we went into the first edition, firstly, it was, even though there was a 1968 race, this was completely new. No one knew anything about what's going on. But now they know. People know and understand what the GGR is. They understand our style, how the social media works, and how you can still have the boats sailing over the horizon without them actually disappearing. The tweets work, the phones work, and the branding opportunities we believe are really strong. So we are putting together completely new documents based on history of the race, and David will be networking contacts. We'll be both developing new ideas for leads and so on. And we're both really confident we've got something unique to put out there. It's amazing raw material. But I want to tell you a story. This is about me for the moment, not about you. And some of you may know this, but it's the way we do it. And you've got to wait to the end game at the end before you freak out and say those guys are hopeless. The GGR, first and foremost, will always evolve around the entrant and the concept and principles of a sailor having a good time, facing their ultimate challenge, sailing solo around the world via the Great Capes, and it's got to be good for the entrant because that's the core value. So the entrant is at the top of the pyramid. Next one down is actually the event. The bigger we can make the event, okay, as in the race village and the media coverage and all those sorts of things, the bigger reach that we get, which goes out all around the world. So the GGR family keeps getting bigger, and more people hear about it and get inspired about it. They get this huge wow factor because it's an amazing story. So the event is the second part of the pyramid. Now at the bottom is the sponsor. Now don't freak out because people say, what? You're trying to get all these millions of euro and the sponsors at the bottom? But yes, they will be, because the reality is that the core value is up the top here, and that'll never change. So the sponsor will like the idea that the event exists and why it exists and what the principles are and the core values are, and that's what makes it unique. Because like Volvo, budget for the Volvo, which used to be $132 million or something, hundreds of employees, huge. We can't compete with that. We don't want to. Where do we go to from there? The Vendée Globe, massive budget, super high tech, incredible event, just massive. We don't have those budgets. We never will. We don't want to compete with that because we don't want to. We love it, but that's not where we are. We're in a different situation. And if you can't compete, then you specialise. And that's the essence of what the GGR is. So we've got an event which we believe is totally unique. It's proven itself now. And it's going to be recreated again in 2022. Got a great group of entrants, that are real characters, and that'll still evolve. We've got a long way to the start, 3 years to go. Some of them now that are entrants won't be there at the start line. There'll be other people that'll come in that will make it to the start line. We'll get some women in, I'm certain of that. We haven't got any yet, but they're there, they're fishing around. So that's why we say, whilst the sponsors are at the bottom, that's because we're not going to change. We'll never turn it around like some of the other events where the sponsor is driving everything. The event is at the behest of the sponsor, and the sailors do what they're told with an event that goes over. We will never let that happen. But that's not showing disrespect to the sponsor. That's really, we're up front. We're saying it here and now. We've got something special, and to me, that's what we've got to offer. I don't know what.
I completely agree. It's such a unique event that you look for the sponsor where the values are aligned. This is about people. It's not about technology. It's about a person with a dream.
Yeah.
And if a sponsor can help facilitate that, and there are shared values, and it talks about their culture as a business, it's the perfect fit.
Yeah.
We have people from all over the world. We've got all ages. The ocean doesn't discriminate in any way.
Yeah.
And everybody's got an equal chance on the start line of winning the race, and that's fantastic. It's not about the budget they've got or their background. It's about their resilience. It's about their adventurous spirit, their mental toughness, all of these things coming into play rather than based on technology or budget.
Yeah, it is human, and that's the big difference. There's an interesting, we've done all the statistics on our social media, and one of the things that really amazes me, there's this thing called when you're rated against a sporting event, right? So the GGR under Facebook rules is classes or classification like a sporting event, and they have like this definition of if you're a sporting event, you get an average click rate, and they give you what the average all around the world for a sporting event is, and it's about 30%, if I remember right, no, 25%. Actually open up and click, when it goes past their screen. We're running at 70%. And the reason for that is, I'm absolutely convinced about this, is we're more than just a sporting event. What happens is we're human interest. We got mums and dads. We got general news. It's not just a yachting event. This is real gritty stuff. It's very real and tangible, and they're values that I think are unique to the GGR. And I've got to tell you a story. This is really funny. And you were at the event. We talked about this before. When we were at the Yacht Racing Forum back in Malta a couple of years ago, they had all the experts up there on the wall talking about how that all the other events, including major international yacht races and all that stuff, all the things that they've got to do to make their event better and what the world is looking for. And they'd say, you need to create human values, you need to create heroes, you need to create this sort of huge challenge. And Barry and I were sitting back thinking, holy dooly, we tick the box, and literally everything the experts were saying about what other events need to try and create, we hadn't even run the event. That's how the core values of the GGR are really so solid. So now we've got to translate that into money, because with the money, not only can we buy lunch instead of having to make sandwiches, peanut butter sandwiches, we can spread the word. So that's the challenge for us, and I'm confident. I'm really happy to have you as part of our team, so that's cool. And we'll just have to stand by and see what happens. But yeah, GGR 22 should have a good sponsor. We're out there looking, and watch this space. Anything you want to say?
No, it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy the next few years.
Yeah, the other thing finally I'd say is David lives in Copenhagen. Jane and I will be living in Tonga. Celine will be back here for a while in France. And we still have Vanetta doing things in Bali. It's an international thing, and our office will be actually where our computers are. So the office here in Les Sables d'Olonne will actually shut down once Tapio arrives, and then we it's back into the international routine, and we'll start up a presence. In fact, we can't officially say we'll be here in 22 in Les Sables d'Olonne. We hope to be, and the negotiations are going well. And let's just assume if it does, we will start a presence here about a year before the start of the GGR. But we've got some cool plans for the future, and it's going to be a great event. Cool. Okay.
Great to be part of the team.
Have fun. Welcome to the ride. Thanks.